We're here with some people that are working on the international trafficking of wildlife in Asia and Africa, doing workshops with partners in Belize and Guatemala. And our main mission today is to spread the word here in Belize that there's a huge wave of pressure on wildlife that's spreading across the planet, and Belize needs to be ready for that.
In terms of Belize, the readiness, what do you think we need to put in place?
Well, I think there need to be public awareness campaigns, and today's a good start with the media that are here, talking about the use of wildlife and the pressures of wildlife. There needs to be good investment in the parks and rangers so that they can patrol protected areas, and especially the seascapes and the marine resources that make Belize so beautiful and so rich and so attractive to tourism. And there needs to be ways to investigate international trafficking of wildlife, because a lot of Belize's wildlife are now being sent across the markets that are way across, and some of that is illegal trade that's really worrisome.
I believe at this time there's still a lot more to be done in terms of quantifying the value and the impact that's taking place in terms of the illegal pet trade from Belize, with illegal Guatemalans coming over and taking them out. In terms of looking at it from a global picture, how big is this industry?
Well, that's what we're trying to quantify, and for the first time we have solid collaboration on both sides of the border between Belize and Guatemala. We have people in Guatemala that are trying to investigate these networks for the first time, and we're working with the Guatemalan authorities to try and capture people and capture the middlemen that are really making the most money off this pet trade. But we have some initial statistics I'm going to present today, such as 1,500 parrots being confiscated in Guatemala over an 8-year period. We think that that's maybe 1 or 2 or 3% of the total flow. So we think it's pretty big and pretty significant, and a lot of that's coming out of Belize.
Would you say there's a genuine interest from the side of Guatemala for us to address this issue as neighboring countries?
I would say so. It's strong collaboration. Of course, you have a lot of really tough issues with poor people that need alternative sources of income. But for the first time, we have some real traction, and this is going to be something that's going to take 10 years to address. But the good news is that we've started it now.
It is an activity that, certainly in the country of Belize, we don't really know so much in terms of the trafficking of wild animals. But as we can determine in Chiquibul, there is also that activity of the pet trade and the trafficking of wild animals. So with the joint effort across the borders, Belize and Guatemala, what we will do is basically to try to put interventions in Belize and also across in the Guatemalan landscape. So that anybody who is basically identified or who might be able to escape, then the Guatemalan authorities might be able also to address and be able to detain that individual out there. The particular species that we'll be targeting is, of course, the scarlet macaw as the primary one, and then the other species of parrots, including the other, 8 species of parrots. And then also the howler monkeys and the spider monkeys, and then the 3 species of cats, particularly the jaguar.
Talk to us about the specific measures that will be put in place.
In the case of Belize, there will be some 3 major activities or thematic areas. One is the training of the personnel on the ground in terms of interinstitutional coordination and planning, which includes the Belize Defense Force, the police, the forest department, etc. The other one is public awareness, basically to raise awareness amongst the population of not buying, animals that are pretty much illegal in the first place to extract from a jungle. And the third one, is comprised of enforcement on the ground in terms of putting a task force, together, particularly headed by the forest department, in order really to address and be able to arrest any individuals out there. On the Guatemalan side, it is much more diverse. It would include the 3 aspects that I noted, but also sustainable livelihoods, which basically means really to work with the communities, the targeted communities, just adjacent to the Belizean border, in terms of looking at other ventures where they can eke a livelihood. So those would be, primarily the 4 efforts, and the 5th one, which is also important, is to work with the justice system in Guatemala in terms of ensuring that the regulations are really upheld and that people can be prosecuted.